We're live on your DSTV channel 421, Go TV 144. This is Joy News Prime. Our headlines this hour: trespassers will be arrested. That's the Ministry of Finance assurance, as it says steps are being taken to maintain diplomatic relations with Bulgaria following an attack on their chancery.
The order that the Land Commission has issued under the new Land Act, those workers there can be arrested.
Fix the country convener Oliver Barker-Vormawor to spend at least one more night in jail despite being granted a 2 million cedi bail.
Police are frustrating the process, so Oliver, until hopefully if they're able to locate the crime officer today, he'll be released today, but if not, then we don't know, maybe tomorrow or the day after.
Also here on Joy News Prime, GES fully endorses the instructions of the Western Regional Directorate demanding a full implementation of the policy on the payment of rent by teachers occupying government bungalows.
He should come and get education. He should come and get explanation as to how the situation arose.
You cannot just have 10% on income and expect everybody to take the same amount of money.
But the Ghana National Association of Teachers is calling for the immediate withdrawal of the directive, describing it as a breach of agreement. We'll hear from both parties. At 8 p.m, I'll hand over to Charles and Gary for Prime Business and Prime Sports. Charles, what's up in business?
Well, tonight, Total has taken the lead to increase fuel prices at the pumps, which I'll get you the quote, especially when each and every price increase is taking effect this evening.
And in sports, Gary?
Well, the acting Ashanti Regional Sports Director of the National Sports Authority, Emmanuel Kojo-Appiah, has assured Ghanaians that the Baba Yara Stadium will be in perfect condition for Ghana versus Nigeria following Coups' approval of the facility.
And surely, NAC Ashanti headquarters and all the stakeholders, I think by the time the match is supposed to be played, everything will be in place. For that one, it's an assurance.
You want to stay for details. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I'm Ernest Menu. Thanks so much for choosing us. Now, the Ghana Education Service says it fully backs the instructions of the Western Regional Director demanding a full implementation of the policy on the payment of rent by teachers occupying government bungalows. Now, in a statement, the service says the letter was written following concerns raised by external auditors and the Public Accounts Committee over implementation failure. More on this shortly, but first, the teacher unions have been kicking against this directive. President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Kabunu, says if government forces its members to pay, they will quit the extra work they do that require them to have the bungalows.
Our teachers holding different responsibilities in the Ghana Education Service find themselves in bungalows. They'll be affected by it because this is a general public service situation. And the letter the regional director referred to was a directive that came from the Ministry of Finance. But let me tell you how this works. That all public servants who are in government bungalows are supposed to pay rent to government. However, government itself, all over the years, have come up with exemptions to certain people or certain officials in government bungalows. So certain officials who perform certain duties take the accommodation as part of their condition or conditions of service. So they are exempted.
Meanwhile, the Ghana National Association of Teachers is demanding the immediate withdrawal of this directive. The association says the directive is against the spirit and the letter of the collective agreement enacted between the GES and the teacher unions back in August 2009. Let me bring you some more details on what it's been saying. It says our attention has been drawn to the above circular signed by Felicia Ejebia Okai, Mrs., the Western Regional Director of Education, and in essence applicable to all regional directors of education in Ghana, informing all teachers or staff occupying school government bungalows that effective 1st March 2022, they are to pay 10% of their basic salary as rent. We find this directive unfortunate and are dismayed at it, since it is against the spirit and letter of the collective agreement enacted between the Ghana Education Service and the teacher unions in the Education Service on behalf of all teaching employees in the Ghana Education Service 2009 and the collective agreement for teaching staff within the Ghana Education Service August 2020. For the avoidance of doubt, we wish to remind the Ghana Education Service of Section 21I of the Collective Agreement 2009, which deals with staff accommodation and states without equivocation that headmasters, assistant headmasters, senior housemasters, principals, vice principals, head teachers, assistant head teachers, frontline ADs, and guidance and counseling officers in second cycle institutions shall be provided with free residential accommodation, emphasized, and that there is no residential accommodation, and that where there is no residential accommodation, the service shall be responsible for the rent of the officers concerned. The same shall apply to directors at the district, regional, or divisional levels. We go further to draw the attention of the Ghana Education Service to Section 19 of the Collective Agreement, August 2020, which also deals with staff accommodation and states again without equivocation that accommodation may be provided for the following category of staff. That's headmasters, assistant headmasters, senior housemasters, principals, vice principal, head teachers, assistant head teachers, frontline deputy directors and guidance and counseling officers, and chaplains and imams in second cycle institutions. We therefore wonder whether it is a deliberate, calculated attempt by the Ghana Education Service to renege on stipulations in the collective agreement, and if it is, caution that it will not hold, since it is both a breach of the union trust and an unfair labor decision or practice, where we are even more appalled with the Western Regional Director's Directive 2, and by implication the regional internal auditors and the regional accountants to ensure all arrears owed and are collected to avoid audit issues. So these are the crux of the issues raised by NAT in response to this thing. But the GES backs the decision by the regional director and has issued a statement to that effect as well. This is just coming in the last few hours. Let me bring you those details. It says management of the Ghana Education Service is aware of the recent public discussions of a letter issued by its Western Regional Director of Education on the above subject matter and wishes to issue the following clarification. For some time now, external auditors have raised queries on the issue of rent paid by some staff of GES occupying government bungalows as official accommodation. In the 2018 Auditor General's report on audits of pre-tertiary institutions, the issue was raised and the GES was summoned to appear before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament on the subject. In the specific case of the Western region, one of the institutions was queried for charging inadequate rent on staff occupying government bungalows of the schools. The auditor referenced the Finance Ministry's circular on 15 May 2006, which indicated that occupants of government bungalows are required to pay 10% of the basic salary as rent. Thus, the Western Regional Director's letter on 11th March 2022 was based on the recommendations of the external auditors and the directives of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament that GES should charge the appropriate rent on staff occupying government bungalows. So it goes on to say that they have given their full backing to this directive. Let's get some more clarity on this. Cassandra Chuma-Mpofu is head of Public Relations Unit at the Ghana Education Service, and she joins us on the line. Madam, I'm grateful for your time. One aspect of this statement that did not address quite clearly is the issue of arrears. What is the GES position on this? Because the Finance Ministry circular dates back to 2006. Will that apply necessarily?
Okay, good evening to your viewers. Yes, with the arrears, You know, definitely we cannot say that those occupying the bungalows now are to pay arrears from that time till this moment. It could even be that those that occupied had already did not owe, or probably they paid their 10% basic salary. What the auditors recently discovered was that those currently occupying were not paying, and those that were paying less than the 10%. They discovered that the external auditors, discovered in the Western region specifically that some institutions had their staff paying 50 cedis for 3-bedroom flats, and then 25 cedis for 2 bedrooms, and then a chamber and hall, so to speak, for 18 cedis. So it was less than the 10% that they were required to pay. And that is the reason why they issued the query, and that is also the reason on that basis that the regional director issued the letter on the 11th of March, 2022. And for us as Ghana Education Service, yes, we are backing the regional director's letter because in 2018, just as I indicated, we have been dragged to appear before the Public Accounts Committee before on this same issue. We've always had external auditors raising this particular issue. And of course, we are no exception. We are also one of the government institutions in the country. And so whatever directives that come with respect to government bungalows where our staff are occupying, we also have to comply. We have to comply, So that is the reason why we are backing what the regional director also. And we have, in fact, as a matter of fact, also asked our cost center managers in the other regions to also do the same and to ensure that all those that are not paying or those that will also pay, so that we are not again.
But post-2006, there have been some developments which NATS today is drawing your attention to. The collective agreement that was enacted between GES and the unions, as well as recent as 2020, some agreements that had to do with additional duty that certain category of people will be performing, to which you agreed to give them free accommodation to enable them carry out these duties. Did you consider that before issuing these statements?
And as we had these concerns from NAT later, we were almost done with our statement. And that's the reason why in our last statement we indicated that, yes, we've noted their concerns. In fact, we are planning to meet them in the coming days. As we have always done, anytime they raise certain issues, we find time to invite them, and then we all sit down and then have a discussion. And then we come to
do we know when this meeting will be convened? Do we know when this meeting will be convened?
No, I can't tell you whether today or tomorrow or probably tomorrow next. But we are yet to extend the invitation to them so that the specific issues they have raised in their press release, we all sit down and look at them. Of course, we all know that these teacher unions are major stakeholders, and so we can't take them for granted.
And so until the issues...
the welfare of the teachers, and so we will engage them and then get to understand what they are.
Very well. And so until the issues are ironed out, what you're saying essentially is that the teachers should pay until you reach any agreement or clarify the outstanding issues that the teacher unions are raising.
And as I indicated earlier, that as one of the public institutions in the country, we cannot just do anything anyhow. So if there's a directive from finance that all government, if you are a government worker, if you are occupying a government bungalow, you are supposed to pay 10% of the basic salary. I think it is for that reason that when the external auditors come, they query us on that all the time. I told you that we've been dragged before the PAC before on this very same issue. So, of course, we cannot direct that our teachers or whatever should not pay, because this is a general thing that cuts across all public institutions. However, these specific issues that they have raised, of course, we have a CBA with them, we have signed the CBA with them. So we'll sit down again, and then we'll look at the concerns, and then we will all come to an agreement as to what we all both sides have to do, and then we'll come back to you.
But as it stands now, there's a pushback. So what happens to those who fail to pay?
We haven't gotten that yet. Of course, the directive or the circular came from finance. If we appear before the Public Accounts Committee, we all know the implications of appearing before the PAC and being asked to do what you're not supposed to do, whether you be charged and everything. We haven't gotten that. The most important thing now is that we, as Ghana Education Service, wants to clarify that we cannot impose rents on our staff. We cannot also determine how much they are to pay for occupying a government bungalow. That is fundamental. That is what we have to let our teachers know. We cannot do that because the government bungalows are not for us.
Very well.
So that is what we all must
Madam,
understand.
I'm grateful that you could join us. That's Cassandra Chumampofo. She's Head of Public Affairs or Public Relations at the Ghana Education Service. To some other stories now. Trespassers will be arrested. That's according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, which has given assurances that it will do all it can to restore diplomatic relations with Bulgaria. The Chancery of the Foreign Ministry or the Foreign Mission was demolished by a private citizen at East Cantonment. Per the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Immunity, Ghana has defaulted on its duty to protect a diplomatic mission of a sending state. Already, the minority in parliament is demanding answers to this, and this will be the second time a foreign mission property has been attacked in recent years. The Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Coups Sapon, at a press conference today, confirmed that the property belongs to the Bulgarians.
Technically speaking, the land belongs to the Bulgarians. So if anybody goes in there, that person is a trespasser. That is how I see this person who has encroached on it. At a point, the ministry managed to get the land unencumbered, but the unfortunate thing is it looks like our friends, the Bulgarians, were not able to police it. So the trespasser managed to get back onto the land. And that is where we are as of today. But the ministry hasn't slept. And the ministry has not reneged on its obligations to the Bulgarians. It's been something that has been on the table day in, day out. In the last 3 weeks or so, I met with the Bulgarian ambassador. He came all the way from Abuja. We had a meeting, and he wanted me to facilitate a meeting with the trespasser. I got to the trespasser on about 3 occasions. And every time I asked him, the ambassador wants us to have a meeting, he would say, oh, my lawyer is not available. When he's available, I'll get back to you. I wait 3-4 days, I go back to him, oh, my lawyer is not available, he's gone here. So he's playing some kind of some games. And what I'm seeing from the game that he's playing, that he's just basically buying time to enable him accelerate the redevelopment work that he's doing on the land. We told the workers that they had to leave the site, and that with the order that the Land Commission has issued under the new Land Act, those workers there can be arrested.
The ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, says high commissioners in Ghana feel threatened by the recent demolition of the Bulgarian embassy. The Norton MP alleges the perpetrators have returned to work in spite of a notice from the Lands Commission asking them to stop work. Mr. Ablakwa is accusing a member of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Yao Edu Ampoma, of being behind the demolition, saying they will be made to bear the full cost of the project. He also revealed that the Lands Minister, Samuel Abujinapo, has assured of a probe into the matter. Mr. Ablakwa made this known during a tour of the site Wednesday.
Some persons came here to tear the notice and in a defiant mood asked the workers to continue with the construction. And as you can see, there are a good number of workers on site. What this means is that the perpetrators of this crude invasion, which is a flagrant violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations 1961, which makes diplomatic premises inviolable. What that means is that diplomatic premises cannot be invaded. You cannot intrude without express permission. More so, to go ahead and demolish an embassy. It is totally abhorrent, and it flies against every law and treaty and convention that we have ratified as a country.
A member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Zuwaira Ibrahim, also expressed worry over the silence of the president in the wake of this attack. She fears reprisals against the country's embassies dotted across the globe.
So this development should not be happening under his reign. At all, it shouldn't. You begin to wonder the brazenness with which a lot of things are happening in this country. What is it that is giving them that impetus to do what they are doing? That you can just violate, as the Honorable Ranking Member indicated. Where we stand now, by the dictates of the Vienna Convention, is Bulgaria. Everywhere a mission is cited. And so when you are a Ghanaian outside of this country, and you get into trouble, and you manage to get into the Ghana High Commission, no security or no law enforcement agent can arrest you unless they go through the mission. That is how these things work. So maybe there's another explanation. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense.
Is it your fear that there could be a reprisal across?
That is our fear. Yeah. And it's a genuine fear. You know, and to think that this week, the AU is organizing a conference in Accra, which His Excellency the President opened yesterday. And the main themes running across the various discussions has been coup d'etats, the uprising of unconstitutional change of government. And today, we just came from there. One of the sessions was, you know, people focused on, let's not begin to look at the actions of the military and who took power and who didn't take power.
An employee of the embassy, Alante, narrates to Joy News how a series of threats were issued by the perpetrators of this act.
What really happened yesterday, I was here when the Land Commission came in here and they put a notice at the entrance that they should stop work, that this place belongs to Bulgaria. So the security man, that this man was there, and they gave him some envelope, one of the notice. So I went back into my yard around 4:35. Mrs. Ampoma's doctor came here and removed torn the board, the notice. There, he and the driver, and they left. Yeah.
They didn't say anything to you?
No, I don't even come out because that girl have given me warning before. So, Edu Ampuma.
How do you know that was the daughter of the job? Do you know
I know her. She told me I should tell my boss should be very, very careful. When the step is foot here, she will see what he.
To other stories now, after being granted bail by the Tama High Court, it appears that Oliver Barker-Vormawor will spend at least one more night behind bars. This is because the court is still in the process of verifying documents on landed properties of one of his sureties and thus cannot execute the bail until a reply is received from the Lands Commission. Mr. Barker-Vormawor was granted a 2 million cedi bail with 2 sureties, but leaders of the Fix the Country movement are alleging that the state is frustrating the process for him to be released. Felicity Nelson is a leading member of the group.
Oliver's been able to provide all the necessary things to meet his bail condition, so sureties and everything have been provided. But unfortunately, the police, the crime officer, they don't know where he is. He's currently not here, and he's the one supposed to take to go back to the court, to the registrar at the court, to show that Oliver has been able to meet all the bail conditions, so that he can actually release him. And he's nowhere to be found. So as you can see, the police are deliberately frustrating the process because right now they said provide X, Y, and Z. We've provided it, yet the crime officer is not around. Why would he not be around? You know we went to court. You know we're going to be here. You knew about this proceeding. Why is the crime officer nowhere to be found? So that's the update. So the update is that the police are frustrating the process. So Oliver, until hopefully if they're able to locate the crime officer today, he'll be released today. But if not, then we don't know, maybe tomorrow or the day after that. So that's the current situation.
Let's go to Zoom now for some update on this. Felicity Nelson joins us with the latest on this development. Felicity, I'm grateful that you could join us on Joy News Prime. So you gave us an update earlier today about the process. What do we know right now? How far have you gone with efforts to secure bail for him?
As it stands now, Oliver's still at the Sherman police station because the registrar has asked that they want to take. Tomorrow they need to go to the Lands Commission to go and, verify the sureties that have been provided. So he's spending another night behind bars. Yeah.
Have you heard from the lawyers? What do they make of this development?
The lawyers, I guess they're not surprised by this development. And if that's what the registrar is saying, there's something that can happen. And there's many times where the registrar they do go through this process of going to the Lands Commission to verify these things. So it's not out of order for them to ask for that.
So this then, clarifies the issue that you raised earlier of what appears to be an attempt to delay the process to get him to stay in the prison.
There's different things at play here. So that was back then I was talking about the police, right? So let's say tomorrow they say they're doing verification and it takes let's say a week, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks, and then I'll start talking about how the registrar is also being used to frustrate the process. But as it stands right now, by the time they even got to the court this evening, due to the police's delay, remember when we couldn't find the crime officer, due to that delay, they got to the court around 5, and I'm sure you're aware courts close at 3. So that already, today was already gone. So tomorrow we'll see if they're going to expedite the process, if they're going to come up with some excuses, and we're just waiting to see what happens tomorrow, at least from the registrar's side of things. But you have to understand that the state can still use bureaucracy and can still use institutions to frustrate the process. It is not something that cannot happen. It can happen that, yes, they'll say, oh, we're following the process, but they can use that process to frustrate you, from the fact that the police took him to the district court instead of the high court, a court that can remand or can't grant bail. These are all ways in which they can use the system and the law and procedures to frustrate you.
How is Oliver doing? And can you confirm for us if indeed he's embarked on another hunger strike of a sort, because of this latest development?
Yes, exactly. Due to, he said it was due to the police and the way they've acted, especially today. So he's on a hunger strike until the police start to act right.
Felicity, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll keep our tabs on this story and bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. Lawyers for Asin North MP James Jachekwason on Wednesday successfully blocked the hearing of a case to determine if he can continue performing parliamentary duties. The Supreme Court on March 8 ordered the legislator to file his defense in the case after it had ruled that the MP has been sufficiently given notice on the matter. Lawyers for the MP are in 2 separate applications, urging the Supreme Court to take a second look at its decision as well as halt the injunction proceedings. Court correspondent Joseph Kablé reports.
The Apex Court had on February 22 directed that court processes be brought to the attention of the MP through a publication in a daily graphic newspaper and posting on the wall of the Supreme Court in Accra, the High Court in Cape Coast, and the residence of the legislator. This was after the private citizen who filed the case against the MP, Michael Ankoma Nimfa, had through his lawyers told the court all attempts to give the MP court documents had proved unsuccessful. A Cape Coast High Court in July 2021 annulled the Asin North parliamentary elections when it ruled that Mr. Kwason owed allegiance to another country other than Ghana when filing his nomination forms to contest the polls. The MP has since been fighting to set this aside at the Court of Appeal. Lawyers for Mr. Nimfa want the MP restrained from performing parliamentary duties while they await the decision of the Court of Appeal. On March 8, lawyers for the lawmaker led by Chachu Chikata informed the court that its order for substituted service had not been fully complied with. He said the publication, a daily graphic, did not contain all court processes but simply had the order of the court and dates for hearing. By unanimous decision, the court dismissed the objection raised by Mr. Chikata. On Wednesday, Mr. Chikata informed the court he had filed 2 applications. One seeks to urge the court to halt its proceedings, while another asks that it reviews its March 8 ruling. The court therefore adjourned proceedings to deal with these applications on March 29. In a separate case having to do with voting rights of deputy speakers of parliament, the Supreme Court in a unanimous decision dismissed the case filed by broadcaster Richard Delasky. He had wanted the court to set aside Parliament's approval of the 2022 budget on November 30, 2021. The court, however, said its ruling last week that stated the presiding deputy speaker keeps his voting rights resolves the matter.
This is John News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Still to come in this bulletin, 23 child slaves have been rescued from the Volta Lake.
All these 23 children we have rescued were working on Lake Volta. Bringing them freedom is what has brought us joy.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime, and we go back to our earlier story where after being granted bail by the Tema High Court, it appears that Oliver Barker-Vormawor will spend at least one more night behind bars, and this because the court is still in the process of verifying a document on landed properties of one of his sureties, and thus cannot execute the bail until a reply is received from the Lands Commission. Mr. Vormawor has been granted bail of 2 million cedis with 2 sureties, but the Fix the Country conveners or the leaders of the group say the state is frustrating the process. Let's go on to Zoom now and get some legal education on this process. We're joined by private legal practitioner Martin Pebu. And Mr. Pebu, thank you so much for your time here on Joy News Prime. This is a process that you're very familiar with. What happens once you're granted bail? What are you required to do in order to enjoy what the court has granted you?
Great. Okay, so when the judge gives the conditions of bail, so call it like the contract, the accused or suspect has to fulfill them. So in this case, we had 2 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, one to be justified. So the one that says to be justified is what's causing the tension now. Yeah. So to be justified generally means that the accused, that the person who is to stand surety, so in this case, the surety rather, has to demonstrate to the court registrar, so that's the administrator of the court, that he has 2 million. He's worth at least 2 million. How does he do this? Often he can use his landed property, but it's not always about landed property. If he has treasury bills, he can do so. If he has the money in his account, he can produce his bank statement, and so on and so forth. Or if he has cars, a number of cars that put together are worth more than at least 2 million, he can produce the vehicle document. Yes, and now you see the good thing is that the judicial system is improving. So now the verification is being made far more efficient. So the registrar can look at this document and then ask other questions of the surety, that's the guarantor, and decide there and then that, oh, this is good for me. Go ahead and sign. So it's very important for us to point out that it's no longer the case that by hook or by crook, the registrar has to write to the Lands Commission, which can take weeks before he gets confirmation from the Lands Commission that this document is registered in the name of Mr. X. No, it's no longer a requirement. The judicial system is saying that it was one of the main causes of delay in execution of bail. So they've made changes in the system. There's a practice direction that gives the registrar the discretion to look at the document, ask some questions, go and verify, ask the bailiff. Of course, the registrar will be too busy to go to all those places. So you can ask the court bailiff to go and look at the building, take a picture, so many other ways. And the registrar will say, I'm satisfied that, yes, this is okay, and then go ahead and execute the bail bond so that the accused, in this case, Oliver, can go home.
So this is not a very complicated process. So seeing the development on this Oliver case, are the fears expressed by the Fix the Country leaders, founded?
Well, yeah, we cannot rule them out because in practice, we've seen situations where sometimes the court grants bail, and then for so many reasons, the police investigator will say he has other assignments, so he's not able to go and verify the residence of the surety and all that, and so it can cause a delay. But once again, the judiciary has given training to registrars. Even just yesterday, there was another training session where I understand it was made clear to them that in that case, in the case the police are engaged in dilatory tactics in going to verify the residence of the surety, the registrar can go ahead and send a court bailiff to go and do that, because the authority, the power belongs to the registrar. So he can send a court bailiff to go do it. That's in the event that the police are engaged in dilatory tactics to delay the execution of the bail bond. And of course, it's not new. It happens that sometimes the police are not happy that bail is granted. So sometimes they engage in dilatory tactics to frustrate the bail. But of course, in a democracy, we don't want to sanction such behavior.
And so in the event that this goes on much longer than you anticipate, what options are there for the lawyers, for instance?
Yes, so the lawyers can apply to the court for a review of the conditions. Yes, so that, yes, there are times that is what the lawyers do. So if you see that the police are frustrating the bail execution, you go back to court and apply for variation so that the terms are changed. Because remember, it's a contract that the accused is going to sign, he and his sureties, before he's released. So you go and say, oh, my lord, the terms of this contract are such that the police are frustrating it. Can we vary? Can you kindly vary for us? Maybe give us other terms, you know. That will be done in such a way as to take away the mischief.
And is it always the case that the court would say that the sureties must be within the jurisdiction of the court?
Jurisdiction, no, not always the case. It depends. And also, let's clarify the use of the word jurisdiction here. For high court, there is only one high court in Ghana, but with several branches, so to speak. So for the high court, the whole of Ghana is its jurisdiction. So unless maybe for some peculiar reasons the judge says that, oh, I want the surety to be resident in Accra. Otherwise, there is no rule that bars a surety who is resident in Nkoko or Bulgar from standing surety.
But why would any judge want to do that? What will go into such consideration?
Yeah, so that's what I said, depend on the peculiar fact of the case. Okay, depending. So let me see, readily, I don't remember any recent case where the judge had to impose restrictions that they must be resident in Accra. But remember this, if the sureties live far off, sometimes execution becomes a problem. So let's say if the surety is a resident in, let's say, Bulgar, and now he wants to stand surety in Accra here, it means the registrar has to contact his colleague in Bulgar. The registrar in Bulgar also may have to call upon the police that, okay, also come and do your part. Because remember that though the registrar has power to send his dailies, usually we also like to work in collaboration with the police. So the police, and if the policeman is willing to go, the registrar doesn't send his dailies. So if the policeman is going, he does it on behalf of the registrar and on behalf of the police administration. So what I'm saying is that, so if it's Bulgar, I mean, they now have to place calls and people have to go and check. So sometimes placing calls and getting feedback, that may result in some delay.
Very well. I'm grateful that you could join us. That's private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, bringing us some legal education on the latest development with Oliver Barker-Vormawor, who is convener of the Fix the Country movement. He would have to spend another night behind bars because the court is yet to receive confirmation of his sureties. Now, on Tuesday, AU leaders met in Accra to discuss factors following coup d'etats on the continent. The region has become unstable, according to a 2019 annual report on coup by the African Security Council. I beg your pardon. The report identified political greed, marginalization, and mismanagement, among others, as key factors following coup d'etats on the African continent. We have a breakdown of that for you shortly, but first, listen to President Akufo-Addo speaking at that meeting here in Accra.
The reappearance of coups in Africa, in all its forms and manifestations, must be condemned by all. since it seriously undermines our collective bid to rid the continent of the menace of instability and unconstitutional changes in government, as currently defined by the frameworks enshrined in the Lomé Declaration, the Africa Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, and other important regional and continental instruments. Unconstitutional regime changes retard a country's growth. As much as the drivers are largely domestic, the international dimension cannot be overlooked. Foreign involvement in fomenting unconstitutional changes, often in favor of repressive governments, foreign economic interests, and other would-be geopolitical benefits, are contributory factors. Some foreign entities regard coups in Africa as a means of enhancing their regional ambitions. As such, they engage in all sorts of disinformation campaigns in a bid to disparage the authority of democratically elected governments and instigate opposition protests against incumbents.
Isaac Kofi of our research desk is with me in the studio to give us some more details on the coups that we've recorded on the continent. Kofi, how many?
Ernest, so let's start with coups in Africa from 2010 to 2022, which is this year. So within a span of 10 years, almost a decade, more than a decade, we've recorded 26 coups in Africa. 14 have been successful, and we have 12 failed coups in the period under review. So if you move to the next slide, it gives you the breakdown. So from 2010 to 2022, you know that on each year, so on year-on-year basis, you see the number of coups recorded in each year. So if you look at 2010, we recorded 3 coups in 2010. It had a decline to 2 coups in 2011, then to 4 in 2012. Now let's move to 2021, which recorded the highest. Exactly. So it was consistent across, concentrated in the sub-region of West Africa, where we had 6 coups in 2021, and then we recorded 2, 1 failed, and then 1 successful coup in 2020, which is this year. Now, if you look at this slide, it gives you a pictorial view of the total number of coups, then successful coups versus failed coups. So in 2010, we said that there were how many coups? There were 6 coups, 3 coups actually. There was only one was successful, and then the rest, was a failed coup. In 2011, we had 2, one successful,
the other
failed. And then in 2012, 4 coups, 2 successful, and then there was a split, 2 successful, 2 failed. Now, if we move to 2021,
well, we had the highest,
where we had the concentration, 6 coups, 4 successful, and then 2 failed. And then in 2022, which is this year, 2 successful coups, 2 coups in total, 1 failed, one. Yeah, exactly. Now, let me give you a pictorial view of the coups we've had from 2010 to 2022. So you could see that majority of the coup is concentrated, apart from Chad, the rest is concentrated in the West African region. That's why leaders, the ECOWAS leaders, are talking about it, because it's actually a problem. If you look at the total space that we have here, which is the African continent, and then from 2010 to 2022, we've had this number of coups, and then if you have from 2020 to 2022, actually, there's a number of coups we had, and then if you look at if you do a pictorial distribution, you realize that most of them are in the West African, region, and that is very worrying. You could see other areas blank, but in the West African region, we have, serious concentration of coups, which some of them, most of them were successful coups, actually. And
the southern part's looking relatively stable.
Exactly. So let's have a global, outlook of the coups we've had since 1995. So globally, we've had
since 1950.
1950, sorry, we've had a total of 486 coups, across the globe since 1950.
Wow.
And
486.
Exactly. So if there's the total, so let's compare what we have, the global figures, to the African figures, and you realize that globally, of the 486 coups we've had since 1950, Africa has contributed 44.03% of the total 486 coups we've had, which is not good.
Almost half.
Exactly. If we talk about successful coups, Africa is also leading, still in the 40 regions with 43.8% of the total, successful coups we've had since 1950.
Wow.
And then failed coups, again, we are leading with 44.26%. So, and that's what we have.
Kofi, thank you for always putting the figures for us in perspective so we can understand the stories that we are telling better. This is John News Prime with me, Ernest. We're taking a break. On we return, we have some more stories for you. Please stay. And she's back with all the latest.
Hello to you, Ernest. How are you doing?
Good. We miss you.
I miss you too.
Where have you been?
Well, I've been, preparing for the Dubai trip.
Okay.
Because Sarkodie is having his Rapaholic concerts in Dubai this weekend.
Rapaholic is going to Dubai.
Rapaholic is going to
great
Dubai.
stuff.
And so that's like the great news there. So Sarkodie, intends to host the forthcoming edition of his annual event, Rapaholic Concert, in Dubai Desert on Sunday, 20th March 2022.
That's good for the industry, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so good.
What more do you have for us?
We're celebrating Kena Yisoba here. We are still in the Ghana month, and so he's coming from the upper East region, and so Kena Yisoba is
Good to see you too. All right, so that's how we end the bulletin. Many thanks for your company. You'll find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Thanks for your company. Business is next.
Hello there, you're welcome to Prime Business with me, Charles Aitip. Here's what's coming up tonight. Total takes the lead to increase prices at the pumps effective this evening. It's already happening at the various pumps. We'll share with you the latest quotes from the various oil marketing companies. Also, large imports blamed for the continuous fall in value of the cedi. The Ministry of Trade says government will be turning focus on domestic trade.
We all know that the more we import, it will definitely affect our dollar rate. And as they keep importing, it's definitely going to affect the dollar rate because they do not import with the Ghanaian cedi. They sell the Ghanaian cedi off to buy the dollar, and it keeps increasing the strength of the dollar.
We have all these and more coming up shortly with me, Charles Aitip. But in the meantime, though, we begin with commodities. Now, tonight we are keeping an eye on, development across the various oil marketing companies as new fuel prices are expected to go up. Of course, we've seen Total take the lead in this respect, given its new quotes across its various pumps. We're getting indications of new quotes from the oil marketer, and of course, as you can see on your screens, these are the various quotes that we have picked at their pumps. This evening, Super is going for 9 cedis, 70 pesos. Diesel is going for 10 cedis, 80 pesos. Kerosene, 9 cedis, 30 pesos. And Exilium 95 going for 10 cedis, 52 pesos per barrel. Now, all this is playing out in the wake of predictions by oil marketing companies as well as energy experts on the fact that fuel prices are expected to go up in the coming weeks. We shall be giving you more details at what is happening at the various pumps. But let's now drift our attention to trade because a deputy trade The high import portfolio of Ghana's trading community is partly to blame for the continuous depreciation of the cedi. If you've noticed, the cedi has lost 14.44% in value to the US dollar since January this year, ranked amongst Africa's worst performing currencies. Speaking to Joy Business at a public engagement with the women's wing of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Nana Ama Dokua Asiama Ajay hinted the government will refocus on domestic trade.
That the more we import, it will definitely affect our dollar rate. And as they keep importing, it's definitely going to affect the dollar rate because they do not import with the Ghanaian cedi. They sell the Ghanaian cedi off to buy the dollar, and it keeps increasing the strength of the dollar. Now, when we're talking about the shipment, I'll still find a solution with it, with the domestication bit, because if you are investing in a product that is already made here, you're not going to have problems with any shipping line, and the shipping lines determine their own freight. Since the COVID outbreak, the freight charges kept on escalating to the highest level. It started dropping, but not to where they were initially paying. So initially they were paying about, if they were paying about 5,000, at a point it got to about 15,000, and now it's back to about 9,000. It still has some lots of dropping to get to, but then we'll still come back to the bottom line of investing in the products that are made here in Ghana. For those that we have the capacity to produce for everybody, full capacity production, we will encourage them to invest in these products. And along the line, for everything they raised issues of credit, access to good credit, access to credits with low interest rates, and we'll see how we can be able to arrange that, especially when it is tied to investing in products that are already made here.
Has described the implementation of the benchmark reversal policy from this month as successful so far. A move, according to the authority, will aid its achievement of 80 billion cedis in revenue target for this year. The GRA has described the implementation, therefore, as a means of raking in much more revenue by spreading the tax net. Take a listen to a stakeholder within the particular GRA policy. Explain this on Joy FM.
Unlike previously when there were agitations, I think consultations were done, and then an agreement was reached between government and the various stakeholders that we should reduce the benchmark value for general goods from the 50% to 30%, and that of vehicle from 30 to 10%. And I think because it was accepted by all the parties involved, the implementation has been very smooth. We have not had any issue. Compared to what happened when the initial announcement was made that we're going to reverse it. So now everybody seems to have accepted it, and it's going on smoothly.
Indeed, that was the Assistant Commissioner in charge of Large Taxpayer Office of the GRA, Dr. Martin Yamboriga. Now, the Deputy Minister of Trade has also been speaking about trade-related matters. The protracted Ghana-Nigeria retail feud. She insists that all means are being executed to protect Ghana's retail space. Take a listen.
For the other issues with the foreigners in retail trade, there's already something in place with the Nigerians, but what they have raised with the Chinese and the Indians are also quite critical, and it needs a lot of attention. With what's in place with the Nigerians, there's some special arrangements with those who are already in the system to see if they can be given some sort of a concession or an amnesty to regularize their documentation and then be able to do the business. You know, it's not only about them not doing business where they are not supposed to do, but also it also has issues with the taxation and how they are able to run their businesses here. Beyond them shortchanging our Ghanaian businessmen and women, how they run their businesses also sometimes shortchanges us with tax mobilization and generation. So we had this arrangement. It's still, the discussions are ongoing. We've already accepted the documentations of those who are interested in that concession, and we are almost through with it. I'm sure in about a week or two we should be able to conclude on the Nigerian one. But with Chinese traveling all the way to Ghana to come and do retail trade, with Indians coming over here to do retail trade, that is actually affecting our local traders. I think that is unacceptable, because if you are in China and there are certain things that are reserved for Chinese, there's no way anybody else from any other national will be able to have that opportunity to do it. But I don't see the reason why they should come to Ghana and be able to do something like that. But then again, it is usually the same Ghanaian who is able to front for them with such businesses. So sometimes we see them actively in some shops, but when you get into the documentation and all that, it is a name of a Ghanaian who's that's registered with that kind of business. We'll have to go behind it, and just as I told the traders, there are some that will need a lot more information than they give, so that we'll be able to deal with this the situation. We'll be able to confront the situation they want us to deal with it.
I'll take you to the ports, because the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority has commissioned a newly constructed transit cargo truck park at the Ghana-Burkina Faso border at Paga in the Upper East region. Now, the 30,000 square meter facility was constructed at the cost of 18 million cedis to ensure smooth operations for cargo trucks, improve trade and facilitate easier revenue mobilization there. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
For many years, cargo traffic at the Ghana-Burkina Faso border here in Paga, in the Kassena-Nankana West district of the Upper East region, was often very haphazard. Coupled with the bad nature of the road, it sometimes became very dusty and chaotic in this area, making road users and even border security officials very uncomfortable. The situation got so bad that the residents here embarked on several demonstrations to try and get a solution. Chief Revenue Officer and Sector Commander for the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority at the Paga border, Samuel Owusu, recounts.
The undulated nature of the park. In the rainy season, the muddy situation that the park actually presents makes work very difficult for my people. In the dry season, they are overwhelmed with dust all over their bodies. And the vehicles that try to enter through the entrance, some of them falling off. The demonstrations that are normally staged by the transport owners and their drivers, which normally bring work to a halt.
About 2 years ago, construction began on a new transit cargo truck park aimed at addressing these problems at the Paga border. The 30,165 square meter park was constructed by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority in partnership with the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. It is hoped that the facility, which has now been commissioned, will also facilitate trade and enhance revenue mobilization for the country. Michael Loje is Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority.
Because the ports are not just what is in Tema and Takrady, every road that links to the port, every corridor that maritime transport passes through or cargo flows through is part and parcel of the port. If the ports are excellent and the road is bad, cargo cannot flow in and out. That is part of the effort that has resulted in the investment that has been done in this particular facility.
Board Chairman of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Isaac Osei, said the new cargo truck park emphasizes government's commitment to create a conducive environment for inter-country trade relations.
GPHA, as a public sector authority, has a duty to assist in ensuring the realization of our government's vision. And this is why this truck park has been built to facilitate the smooth flow of cargo. But the truth is that it's not just about cargo. It is also about people. It's about the relationships that we establish amongst the people who live on either side of the border. The facilities which have been provided here is telling us that we are really talking about the mutual cooperation between our people.
District Chief Executive for the Katsina-Nankana West District, Gerard Atauje, said the new transit cargo park will help eliminate the situation where cargo trucks were often forced to park on the shoulders of the Paga roads, thereby putting pressure on the roads. For Joy News, Albert Sori, reporting from Paga.
Now, in order to ensure road safety, the DVLA has embarked on an orientation program for drivers around the country to ensure that they abide by specific road regulations. We have more in this report.
The examiners program for 50 officers from the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority is part of the roadmap to ensure that a standardized certification is developed for commercial and heavy-duty vehicles. The move will ensure that transported goods reach their destination safely. Deputy Director in charge of driver testing and training, Coups Semevor, is confident that the standard manual for this category of drivers will promote professionalism on the road.
Now, what we have just done means that apart from these authorized officers, no other person in the authority is allowed to test such category of drivers. But it's an ongoing process. More officers will be trained. The next stage is the standardizing the manual for training of the drivers themselves. And this process will soon end, and then there will be an established base for training those category of drivers. When that is done, it means that any time anybody is issued a license to drive such category of vehicles, we are sure that that person will have gone through the required models of training before that person is granted a license or the privilege to use our roads. So in short, that is the essence of this.
So in simple. Speaking at the event, Chief Executive of the DVLA, Akwesi Ajimambuzia, reminded heavy goods carting drivers of their critical role in assisting traders and businesses get access to items.
You have to be a very good driver. You need to remain alert for long periods of time, which may be easier said than done. Frankly, it is a tall order for many. You have to have a very keen eye on road safety and regulations, have a complete understanding of that as an examiner. You also have to be able to work independently as an operator, have a responsible attitude, and to be able to cope with stressful and demanding situations. Yours is a call to duty to help with training people who assist with commerce and who do well to protect life and indeed save lives.
The authority is expected to roll out these programs at all DVLA offices in the country.
The Canadian government has begun talks to team up with the pharmaceutical industry to produce COVID-19 vaccines from Ghana. Now, this was coming after Canada donated over 300,000 vaccines to the country. The Minister of International Development and Pacific Economic Development Agency, Harjit Sajjan, told Joy Business Odilia Ntiawa that Canada is also giving Ghana 75 million Canadian dollars to support the country's economic recovery from the impact of COVID-19.
First of all, when it comes to, very impressed with the health system, but the rest of the world, when it comes to vaccines, it was not equitable as it should have been. And this is something that we're very mindful of, and one of the reasons why Canada stepped up very early to work with COVAX to provide vaccines, therapeutics, and the support for the health system. And the 300,000 plus vaccine that just happened to arrive while I was here was a good opportunity. But while I was here, I had already had discussions, and our team had discussions with the additional vaccines that can be deployed very quickly, and we'll continue to do more, not just here in Ghana, but rest of the world. But I'm also very proud to say that one of the things we want to take a look at is how do we look at where, when it comes to vaccines, that you actually create a hub here. And so that you not only look after your nation, but also the surrounding countries as well. That's what we want to look at, focusing on how we can work together for this.
You're still watching Prime Business with me, Charles Ait here. Let's now help you appreciate the best ways by which you could spend and invest your money in today's edition of Money Lab.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Money Lab once again. What is fundamental analysis? Now, fundamental analysis for a stock is a method of measuring the intrinsic value of that stock. Now, it combines financial statements, external influences, events, and industry trends. Such analysis helps you to identify key attributes of the company and analyze its actual worth, taking into account macro and microeconomic factors affecting the company.
Thank you for staying with us on The Sport. I'm Gary L. Smith, and we begin with the news, continuing that acting Ashanti Regional Director of the National Sports Authority, Emmanuel Kojo-Appiah, has assured Ghanaians that his outfit, together with the GFA, will work effectively to meet the conditions outlined by the Confederation of African Football following the approval to use the Baba Yara Stadium for Ghana versus Nigeria next week, Friday. Now, FIFA and CAF moved the 2022 World Cup playoff first leg game to the facility in Kumasi after CAF sent inspectors on Sunday to check if the stadium was up to standard. However, the game can only go ahead in Kumasi should the GFA meet the requirements outlined by CAF ahead of the fixture. I'll tell you about those after this report by my colleague Stephen Zando from Kumasi.
Was given on Wednesday after CAF sent inspectors on Sunday to observe if facilities in Ghana's second biggest city was up to standard. Following the report sent by the inspector, the decision has been taken to move the match from the original Cape Coast Stadium to the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in Kumasi. However, the game can only go ahead in Kumasi should the GFA meet the requirements outlined by CAF ahead of the fixture. These conditions include but not limited to installation of new international standard, modern and comfortable officials' benches at pitch level, adjustment of the floodlight intensity, and increase of seating and lockers in the team dressing rooms to reach 25 persons. Acting Ashanti Regional Director of the National Sports Authority, Mr. Emmanuel Kojo-Appiah, has assured the NSA will work together with the GFA to effectively meet the conditions.
NSA has always been on top of events, and surely NSA Ashanti headquarters and all the stakeholders, I think by the time the match is supposed to be played, everything will be in place. For that one, it's an assurance. And we've always been working here, and it's not going to be different, only that we only up our game. For the dressing rooms, we don't have issues there. We have the pitch, and the pitch, as you can see, we did a little bit of work on it yesterday and today. It was around 3.5 mm. Now we cut it to 2.5 mm. Tomorrow we will even put some more works on it, and then we apply our normal fertilizer, just as we've been doing. So by next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, it should be ready. So by Friday, it should be excellent for the match.
The regional director is excited the Black Stars are back in Kumasi, which many believe has served as a favorite ground for the senior national team.
It's always a pleasure to serve, and I think when such a match is coming home, you have no other choice but to have a nice feeling. But it puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders to do even more. So we are calm and we are putting the place in shape. We are praying, and we believe that the supporters, those who will be in the stadium and others who will be at home, they will be praying for our national team. It's our national team. We should all put our heads together, our hearts together, and pray that we win and win massively.
Meanwhile, residents of Kumasi have expressed their delight following CAF's approval to stage the game between Ghana and Nigeria at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium.
It's a match we are yearning for.
and we have get it. And we are pleading to all the people in Ashanti region to come and occupy the stadium and cheer our nation Black Stars to qualify. This is a crucial match to qualify to 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
We have done it before. If you play Nigeria, Nigeria is a chop. Yeah, you cry no more. If you sleep, crap, when we wake up, say Ghana and Nigeria, you go score them. We are talking to Ketokreku and the Black Star management. So you should bring the correct players. If the local players can fit do their job, let's bring them and do the correct job. Right now, Ghana and Nigeria is the big crucial match. So we have 28,000 or 28 million population. Make it choose the best 18 or 25 players to come and cheer. But we are ready to them. We are going to cheer them from morning to evening. We go shout, here is Black Star home. Even the Egyptians, we give them 6-1 here. They score first goal. And then we give them 6. So Nigeria, I quite remember 91 when they qualified to Senegal 92. And the situation was the same. The match were playing in Accra, and then the coach Bugazizi decided that you will bring it to Kumasi. So I'm sure when they are coming today, the history will repeat itself.
Oh, many are just a bit mamma, so I pay a bit my baby. So, man, I'm not feeling my machine life. So, as I said, the baby could be a main change of the catcher. I'm the person you know. I say, I am home to say almost better on my Ghana for you losing the Charlie. Say slow.
If they throw their support for you in Kumasi, you are definitely a winner. Because Kumasi people, you know, as they used to say, bring back the love. So I'm urging all the supporters across the globe that this is the time that we should all come as one people, come as one nation. We shouldn't be a partisan that is party A or party B. This is a Ghana affair and it's a national team. And let me say, if your team is able to qualify for World Cup, the benefit that they get, you can go and ask Aduana Stars. Due to some Adams, let me say, qualification to World Cup, that he was included in the team, they get benefit from it. 2006, you can go and ask other people. Due to Ghana qualify for the World Cup, they get some special benefit from it. If Ghana qualify for World Cup, those local teams that they are within the country, they are going to get benefit from it. So I'm urging all the supporters across the globe that next week Friday, we should all throw our support to the nation, to the Black Star. We should all come together as one people and support the team. Let's cheer the fans, let's cheer the boys to victory. Because Qatar 2022 is a must win, it's a must victory for Ghana.
I think in Kumasi, when you organize a Black Star match daily, I think this edifice is going to be full to the brim. So, Black Star match, we witnessing it over here. I think it's very welcome and many people are going to watch it. And I think they are going to benefit because we are going to support it with all our energies, our finances and everything.
So this is the Baba Sports Stadium here in Kumasi, the venue that will be hosting the Black Stars of Ghana and the Super Eagles of Nigeria on Friday, March 25, 2022 at the playoff stage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Generally, fans on the streets of Kumasi are excited. The Black Stars of Ghana are back playing their home matches here at the Baba.
Stephen Zando brought us that extensive report. Let's go now to Nigeria. And the game will be kicking off at 7:30 p.m. next week, Friday, and it will be 8:30 in Nigeria at the time. The spokesperson for the Nigerian Football Federation, or the media officer, is on Zoom with us. Thank you very much, Ayo. I know you are very tired, and I thank you very much for taking time to stay with us on this.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
Yeah, so you saw the report, you heard the people in Kumasi. What do you have to say?
I like the spirit. Of course, just like they've said, it's a big game whenever Nigeria faces Ghana. Of course, the history dates to long time ago. And of course, the head-to-head, favors Ghana, but things have changed. It's not the same again. So it's going to be an interesting encounter, one of the biggest in the playoffs we're going to be having for the run-up to the 2022 Qatar World Cup. And I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to this clash. It's going to be an interesting clash, and it can go either way.
Look, Ayo, it seems like Ghana and Nigeria have shut down Africa, and all the other games have paled into insignificance. Because this is the game everybody is talking about. Do you get that feeling as well in Nigeria?
Of course, a lot of pundits, just like you had in that last report, a lot of pundits also have been talking about it, just like they're very optimistic in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, Kano. Everybody is very, very optimistic, especially with the kind of array of stars the Nigerian team parade at the moment compared to their Ghanaian counterparts. I'm not saying, Ghana does not possess the superstars. Of course, you can't take it away from, the lineup that we're going to be having from the Black Stars. And I don't want to take into consideration, what panned out at the AFCON. AFCON is gone, and I'm sure, and we have a new sheriff in town in Otoado, of course, Chris Hilton leading the Ghanaian Black Stars. So, the Ghana Black Stars. So I know that it's going to be a different kettle of fish. We cannot weigh or measure Ghana with that particular performance at the AFCON. And same with Nigeria. We didn't have Victor Osimhen, who is the leading marksman for the Eagles. We didn't have him at the AFCON, but we're going to be having, 2019 AFCON top scorer back also for contention for starter shirt. Joe Gallo. We have Victor Osimhen. We have Ademola Lookman joining us, Kelechi Iheanacho. So it's going to be a match for match. Like you said, it's stolen the headlines across Africa. And I really feel it that Nigeria is playing Ghana, because these are the two powerhouses when you talk about football. In Africa, I'm not talking West Africa. West Africa, we know already dominates African football. You can't take it away. Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire. These are big sides any other day. But it's unfortunate it's happening. But one team has to, qualify and represent the rest of Africa. At Qatar, I hope it will be the Eagles.
So, Ayo, let's look at preparations. We understand that there are some special preps for the Super Eagles to come to Ghana with. Can you update us on that?
Yeah, well, we expect the camp to open this weekend. Of course, that our players will be playing till on Sunday, which is going to be the 21st. On the 20th. So we would expect them to connect their flights and arrive at Abuja, where they will be camping, for 1 or 2 days. So we would look forward to seeing that we have a full house that can come all the way to Kumasi. Now that it's Kumasi, of course, that will also alter our initial plans. So that means that we have to re-strategize and start planning to come to Kumasi since it's been, scheduled now for the Babayara Sports Stadium. So certainly that's
we understand there's a chartered flight. Is it a chartered flight that's coming?
Normally, when the Eagles travel under this administration, it's always going to be a charter flight. So it's not news that the Eagles travel with that. So, and Ghana is just a stone throw, just for an hour plus. You already be in Kumasi. So that's just the way it's going to be.
Okay. Now, finally, though, for the return leg, the MK Abiola Stadium has been past fit to host the Black Stars. Any special preps ahead of this game? We understand that the ticket prices have already been put out and all that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a 60,000 capacity stadium. But of course, CAF, I think, has given 30,000, which is 50%. So definitely, we already have tickets up online. A lot of people are buying, as we speak. So we hope to have a full house, of course, in the MKO Abiola Stadium. It's going to be the first time, by the way, that the MKO Abiola Stadium will be hosting the Eagles in a competitive game. The last time was in 2011. So that would mean that every part of Nigeria, we should have, fans strong the stadium.
Nice one. Any final words for the huge Nigerian community in Ghana?
Well, I look forward to seeing them. I can't just wait. I know that half part of that pitch or the stadium will be green and white. And I hope at the end of the day, would fight the Black Stars. I know that it's going to be a big battle, especially now it's going to be at a cauldron, the big cauldron, the fortress of the Black Stars. I know what it means, to play at the Babayara Sports Stadium, but they would also have Nigeria to contend with. So from every part of Ghana, just all road leads to the Babayara Sports Stadium and come, support the Eagles, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. As I said, I know it's been a long day for you. I appreciate you staying up for this. I didn't choose the soundtrack to that song. Anyway, Asamajan scored twice. We got one for Majid Wari. Suleiman Tari scored. Christian Achu scored as well. 6-1 it was. Great game. So this is where the game will be played, Baba Yara. Now, as you heard, CAF has given Ghana 8 conditions to meet before the 25th of March. Let's look at the 8 conditions. That's the Black Stars. And if they don't meet it, then Ghana will pay a fine. So the game will come on, but if they don't meet these conditions, including installation of new international standard, modern and comfortable official benches at the pitch level. Secondly, it must adjust the floodlight intensity. A minimum of 1,200 LUX or lux should be provided all over the pitch, covering uniformly every area of the playing field. Thirdly, must increase the seating and lockers in the team's dressing rooms to reach 25 persons. And then, there must be installation of completely new modern equipment and materials in the referees' dressing rooms and ensure that it's equipped with all the necessary materials and CAF requirements. Fifth, set up the water system to provide both cold and hot water in the teams and officials' dressing rooms. 6, the general refurbishment of the CAF office, installation of the modern desks and seats, including the necessary electronic and working equipment. 7, the VOC must be available and equipped with all the necessary equipment and requirements. So that's where the stuff for the VAR will be. And finally, there must be a complete refurbishment of the media tribune, the press conference room and media center, installing new and modern equipment. So it's showtime in Little Kumasi. It's a big deal. But today in Abuja, the Ghanaian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Rashid Bawa, earlier today paid a courtesy visit, and as you see them on your screen, to the Nigerian Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, ahead of the game. The two officials discussed issues pertaining to security, ease of transport, and other matters as well. And Mr. Bawa, as you might recall, if you remember, was or is himself a former sports minister here in Ghana, so he understands these things well. Away from football in Ghana, Nigeria, the national deaf rugby team has begun preparations for next year's World Championship in Argentina. Quickly, let's get the details in this Joy Sports report.
Preparing in earnest ahead of next year's World Championship, which comes off in Argentina. The team trains at the hockey park at the Barker-Vormawor Sports Stadium in Kumasi thanks to the benevolence of the National Sports Authority. To ensure the team is in perfect shape for the Deaf Rugby Championship, the Ghana Deaf Rugby Association has arranged international friendly games with the Wales national team in April. Head coach Salisu Abdurrahman is happy with the attitude of his players.
So far so good. I think we are doing well in terms of the knowledge of the game, fitness, everything is up. We are actually working. For my team, I think this is just the beginning, but my hope is to go there and do well and make the whole world see that Ghana, we are also doing something. Not just to go there and make numbers, but we are going to leave a mark over there and let the whole world see that we can also play. Yes. Between now and departure, I think we are almost there because today, as for today, we actually touch on line out and scrum as the way the game is. And we are planning to touch on kickoffs, like game situation, for the players to know actually what is going to happen. So from now, we still have time to cover up all these things.
Acting General Secretary of the Ghana Deaf Rugby Association, Wosun Agbasi, has urged corporate Ghana to come to their aid.
Actually, it has not been easy, but I think the determination by the players, the technical team, and also the management team, we are doing a great job in making sure that the team is well prepared for the tournament. And you know, the no money syndrome in the system. So we are a federation or a union that believes that it is not all the time that we need to put every burden on government alone. So whilst we are preparing for training and all other things, we are also going out to look for funding and support from the Ghanaian public in making sure that the team have a successful training.
An impressive performance in the friendly games with Wales puts the national deaf rugby team in perfect stead to make their mark at next year's World Championships.
So, on that note, that is how we end the sport. Thank you very much for your time. You can get more on myjoeonline.com and also on our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yep, Joy Sports GH. The hashtag, as always, is Joy Sports GH. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon. Later. Bye.
Sports segments was brought to you by
Soccer Bets, your best bets for sports betting.
Shield acrylic paint, the premium paint.